Hi everybody, today I want to talk about pricing. Pricing is surprisingly one of the things that people tend to mess up all the time. When I was a teenager working in a garden center, I actually had to explain to the manager there the difference between margin and markup. But anyway, I digress. Let's get to Andrew's 5 golden rules for pricing. Number 1 is the cost. Cost is really everything. That's your baseline. It has to include everything it takes to get the value to the customer. Logistics, shipping, raw materials, after-sales support, all of the things involved in delivering the value to the customer. Number 2 is the value that the customer is going to perceive from it. The old example of somebody dying of thirst in the desert, they would give everything they have for that glass of water. So that is the maximum value that you can get from that. The third element is affordability. If your market can't afford what it is you're selling, they can't buy it. End of story. They just don't have the money. I can't afford a 747 or a jet airplane. No matter how good a deal I can get, it's outside of my affordability today. Fourth thing is comparisons. Whatever you're selling, human nature is to compare it to something else. Whether it's a car, a tractor, an apartment building, consulting services, you always want to compare it to something else. Now, you can help your clients by suggesting what they might compare it to. Sometimes we call this framing, and if you frame your product a different way, you can move it into a different set of comparators that are favorable to what you're trying to do. That's 4. The fifth one, and this is kind of a slider in the chart, is market share. Obviously, the higher you price it, the fewer clients that you can address. The lower you price it, the more clients you get, but of course at a lower margin. Now, the one exception to this is prestige pricing, where if you price it extremely high, you then bring on a certain cachet. Think of a Coach handbag, for example, that allows you to capture more market and more margin, even though you've got an extremely high price. But that's a subject for another day. So remember, the 5 rules to think about when you're pricing is you've got to price above your cost. It's got to be below the perceived value. You've got to make sure your market can afford it. You've got to align your comparables in a way that makes sense for you. And you have to figure out how big a market that you want to go after. So that's it. Those are Andrew's 5 golden rules for pricing. If you'd like to get a copy of these rules, along with a chart that explains how they all work together, then please click on the link below and download yourself a copy. Talk to you next time.